Welcome to our 38th Wonderspace journey. My name is Steve Cole, and since September 2020, I have been asking the same 6 questions to people from around the world. The questions revolve around life and wonder, places of reset and stories of hopefulness. This week our orbit will take us from Cornwall in England to the Indian Ocean, and to experience these views with us in this ultimate window seat, we welcome Amy Clarke. Amy is co-founder and chief impact officer of Tribe Impact Capital, which is an award-winning wealth management firm and B-Corp dedicated to advising and managing private and institutional wealth for positive impact. Amy is also an advisor to the Ocean Plastics Leadership Network and is on various national and international boards, which she talks about in her story. The full-length interview with Amy can be found on the Wonderspace Podcast, which you will find on our website and on most podcast platforms. For this shortened video orbit, Amy answers 3 of our 6 questions and starts by giving us a glimpse into her life story so far, with an emphasis on what she is doing currently.
I'm the youngest of 3 girls. I have 2 older sisters who are identical twins. And before you ask, Steve, yes, I can tell the difference between them, which is the first question everybody always asks when you have siblings who are identical twins. And I think I was born an environmentalist, and I'm very, very lucky. My parents recognised it at a very early age, and we were very lucky as well because we lived somewhere where we had a garden, and a really nice big garden. And I used to spend hours out in the garden talking to the wildlife, building little villages in the flower beds so that all the plants and the animals could kind of, commune. I was that slightly strange child. But my parents nurtured it, and I've been really, really lucky because if I fast forward to what I do, I've been able to spend my entire career focusing on sustainability, what it is, how you achieve it, and why it's important. I went to university. I studied undergrad and postgrad in environmentally related subjects, came straight out into the world of work at a time, I think, when people were really starting to wake up to this notion of environmental responsibility and then more broadly sustainability. So I have spent 27 years now working in an area that is very reflective of who I am. I don't have a job. I don't have a career. I mean, obviously I have a career. I have a vocation. It's a calling. Very much like a doctor or a teacher. I'm doing what feels natural and right for me to do. And with Tribe, which is the business that I co-founded, what we're doing is bringing sustainability right into the heart of the finance system. We're getting finance to understand what true risk looks like. The risk posed by not managing our resources well, by not ensuring people have equal access to education and housing and food and water, etc. We're bringing that right into the heart of finance and allowing wealth holders and wealth owners to really reflect their values, their belief systems, the things that they really care about, reflect that back into their money and say, I care about these things too, and I want my money to do well for me, but I also want it to do good for other people as well. So that's what Tribe does. It's a destination for people who genuinely believe that the world should, could, and can be a much better place than it currently is, and they will exercise that belief through the investments that they have. I also have a few fingers in other pies as well, never knowingly understocking myself with a sense of mischief and hopefully creating change elsewhere. I am so blessed. I'm really, really fortunate to have the opportunity to sit on the board of B-Lab UK, part of the B-Lab community and B-Corp community globally. Obviously, Tribe is a B-Corp. That is such a joy, working with these incredible other business leaders and activists and change makers who really believe that businesses should be and can be a force for good, and helping other businesses recognise that and step up and lean in more. And then I'm also equally lucky to sit on the board of Big Issue Invest, which is part of the Big Issue Group. It's the impact investing, social investing arm of the Big Issue Group. And again, there, just the sheer joy and privilege of working with a team who is at the coalface of investing in solutions that tackle the root cause of poverty and homelessness in the UK. And we all know the Big Issue is an incredible brand, and it's travelled internationally. It's wonderful. Lord Bird, John, and Nigel Kershaw have done such an incredible job. I mean, they really, really have. So I'm in my spare time. Apparently, I have spare time. In my spare time, I like to do as much as I can to help others. I think just achieve their own potential, but also help others deliver on the dreams that they've had. As well, and I get to do that with my positions on the B-Lab board and with Big Issue Invest as well. There are a few other things that I do that are probably a little bit more related to obviously my core calling, which is Tribe. So I sit on the steering committee of something called the Global Ethical Finance Initiative, GEFI, which is based up in Scotland. Incredible team up there. I also sit on the Development Council of the Future Fit Benchmark, which is this incredible benchmark that helps businesses understand how they can future fit themselves for what is a constrained world that we live in. I'm really lucky. I was asked to become an advisor to the Ocean Plastic Leadership Network, OPLN, that is tackling the incredibly thorny issue of plastic in the ocean as well. And through that, oh my goodness, Steve, I have met just some of the most unbelievably talented, impassioned, smart, incredible people. My story of hopefulness is a story of hope, but it's also it's a sad story as well, and it's a shocking story. There's an incredible lady called Berta Isabel Caceres Flores, who was a Honduran activist, human rights and environmental activist, who was murdered in March 2016, protesting the construction of a dam on sacred land, indigenous land. And she represents this extraordinary community of individuals around the world, a lot of whom are female, who put themselves in harm's way in the defence of what's right. In 2019, there were 212 activists killed around the world, according to Global Witness. So whilst it's an incredibly shocking story and it's a shocking statistic, people like Berta represent to me the best of humanity, people who are willing to put themselves in harm's way to do what's right. I could also talk about the RNLI, the Royal National Lifeboat Institution. Completely different story. But again, here in the RNLI, you have an institution that is publicly funded by the Great British, public. It's run on donations, and you have people around the UK who will put themselves in harm's way to help other people. They're not paid to do this, they volunteer to do this. And it's that mindset, it's that recognition that what's right to do is right to do, and to have the courage and the conviction to put yourself out there and say, no, I will help, I will make a point, I will take a stand, I will get on that boat in a gale and I will go and help that person. It's an extraordinary mindset, and to me that's the hope. There are millions of people around the world who have that mindset, and the more that we can get people comfortable with being uncomfortable, I think the better this planet becomes, the better society becomes. So I think there's a huge debt of gratitude we owe people like Berta and all of the activists who've been murdered around the world. And there's a huge debt of gratitude we owe people like the RNLI, as an example of an organisation that puts themselves in harm's way to help people. But within that, there's just such hope, such incredible hope for humanity. I think that insight I'd like to share with you is that at any one time in our lives, we are, as human beings, we are paralysed by a sense of fear about something. And altogether, too many of us give that fear a voice and a vote. And it's really good to give your fear a voice, to sit with it, to listen to it, to understand it, to interrogate it, to then recognise what strength of reaction do you need to that. What is the reaction to whatever it is that is creating that fear? But too many of us don't sit with the fear, don't listen to it, don't interrogate it. We jump to giving it a voice and therefore not acting, or acting in a way that ultimately is self-sabotaging or self-harming or harms others. So my insight and my wisdom would be, we've all got to get a lot more comfortable with fear. It's part and parcel of life. It's part and parcel of being human. Life can be brutal. We have to get comfortable with our fear. We need to respect it, but we should never let it control us.
To find out more about Tribe, go to tribeimpactcapital.com. Amy also passionately talked about organisations such as B-Lab and Big Issue Invest, the Future Fit Benchmark, the Global Ethical Finance Initiative, and the Ocean Plastics Leadership Network. In her story of hopefulness, Amy spoke about the Honduran activist whose work and legacy continues, and you can find out more at copinh.org. To listen to the previous 37 Wonderspace interviews, the website is ourwonder.space. I want to thank Amy for joining us on this Wonderspace, and I hope you can join us next week for more wonders and stories of hopefulness.